Getting ready for a full week. Obviously, a great stretch in front of us here of NCAA tournament teams, really good teams. Nebraska's tremendous. Obviously, Northwestern later in the week, both those teams are tournament teams. And I know we got 3 out of 4 on the road. So, yeah, it's an important stretch for us, important for us to just focus on getting better here, and that's what we're doing. So, as I said on the radio show, no real injury updates. Scotty's back with our group, so no real updates in terms of roster that's significant beyond that.
Chris, Nebraska may not have the sexy name in the basketball world, but they might be the hottest team in the Big Ten right now. So, what are they doing so well this year? Well,
they a couple years ago they went, and I'm sure it was a conscious decision by Fred. They got really old. They went transfers. And they've just gotten really old. And Fred's always been a really good coach, a terrific offensive coach, but always been a really good coach. And they've got a great system that he's recruited older transfers to. They've always had an incredible home environment, regardless of kind of what their record is. It's just the way that's always been there. But I think that's probably been the biggest difference is they've really hit the transfer market well. And you can see it because they had some success last year. I think some people questioned, they lost a good big kid, how would that affect them? But they got a transfer big kid who's been phenomenal for them. They had a transfer from Charlotte who's been terrific for them. They've got obviously a really fun, dynamic guard, Casey, who's fun to watch and a challenge to guard. So they've just got a really good team that's a bona fide tournament team. I don't think there's any question.
And with the way that they have things set up, with the way Fred coaches, their perimeter is going to be solid, athletic, and they can shoot the basketball. So what challenge is that going to present for you guys, whether it be with your switches or your perimeter defense in general?
It's going to really test us, Whitney. I think it's really going to test our we're going to have to be really on point with our defense, really on point, because they can really shoot it. They can shoot it from multiple spots. And they are a real challenge to guard. Right now, they're 3rd or 4th in the league in offense. Their pace is good, and they just are a terrific shooting team, particularly at home.
After the game, we asked you about Bruce, and you talked about teams hedging him the way that they have. Does that prevent him? How does that prevent him? I guess can you explain how that prevents him from getting downhill, getting some of those mid-range pull-ups that he was so successful with earlier in the year?
I think it's neutralized that, to be honest, Adam. I think it's neutralized him they're just putting 2 on the ball. So it's really limited his ability to get downhill. So I think we've got to look at some things where maybe we can help him with that, and he's got to continue to push the pace in transition. But yeah, it has kind of neutralized that, and he's such a strong guard. I think it's a big reason why he's getting hedged. It's also allowed us here in the last maybe couple games, but certainly the last game, of being able to get the ball out of his hands and allow some of those other guys to make plays. And I think if we can grow in that area, that will help our team.
Like on a day where he does go 1 of 9, I think he had 6 assists and 2 turnovers. So it's like his assists have remained high. He's not turning it over. He's just not getting some of those spots. Where is that trade-off for you? Where you're okay if Bruce only has 4 points, but he had 6 assists or whatever. What kind of balance are you okay with there if he's not getting to some of those spots? Teams are taking that away.
Well, I'm okay if we have a good, efficient, effective offense, regardless of kind of what it looks like for any individual. So I think that's the way our team should be, and I know that's the way Bruce is. Obviously everybody wants to play well, but different guys, different defenses are going to try to take different things away. His assists have been good, and he probably could have gotten another 1 or 2 if we'd have made a couple open looks. So I love his ability right now to find the open guy as well as to play both ends and to compete on both ends. And he's just got to continue to lose himself in that. And he'll make some of the open ones that he's missing. And I think his offense will come around. But again, we need other guys to help him too with their play to where he's not receiving quite the amount of attention he is.
The Penn State game was an important win for you guys. What does it take, I guess, to build off of that and get a run going? And these wins would be just as important or even better if you're able to get a couple more this week. Just what do you do? I assume it's play good team basketball and continue to do the things that helped you win that game, but just what can you do to build off of that? I suppose?
Well, Steve, you've heard me say this before. It's really about how we're playing, and I think I want us to play better than what we've played for longer stretches on the road. Than what we've done here recently, and that's the challenge for us. I think if you do that, then you put yourself in position. We're not playing bad teams, as you mentioned. These are good teams we're playing on the road, and I think our focus is just playing as complete a game as we can offensively and defensively, and putting ourselves in position and knowing the competition we're going to face.
And with Bruce, kind of, you touched on this a little bit. Were you happy with the shots that he was getting? I mean, you want everything to come into the flow, I presume. And
Yeah.
You want him to also take shots when he's open. I mean,
Yes.
You talked about that early in the season. You wanted to be assertive, but what was your overall comfort, I guess, with how that looked?
Good, all but a couple of them, Steve. I think I was more than happy with all of a couple of them. I think both he and Roddy and those other guys, they've got to take open threes, rhythm threes, paint touch threes. So I've got absolute confidence in that. So I want them to keep doing that. I think they will. I want them to stay aggressive and confident. But maybe there was one or two that I didn't love, but for the most part, they were all really good looks.
Chris, you talked about how good the bench was for you over the weekend. Does it take time in a season to know how to maximize each bench player's ability and the way they can impact the rotation?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Particularly, maybe a little bit harder for younger players. But your transfers have an adjustment there too. They've kind of been through it, so they understand it more. But yeah, it does take a minute, and I think you're looking right now as we move into this second half of the season. Who's embracing that role, who's playing their role to a high level on both ends, who's helping us win possessions, and you're going to give those guys opportunities.
And with Casey, I know he has a limited range, it seems like, but what else makes him a challenging guard?
His motor, he's incredibly fit. He has got a really quick release, and he's now been able to drive it and get to the free throw line a little bit because of the amount of pressure he puts on the defense behind the arc.
Chris, how important is it for you guys to get off to a quick start like you did on Saturday, especially on the road?
16-0 start. That's going to be a challenge in any game, but to your point, we are going to need to get off to a good start, and it's hard to expect that kind of a start, right? But to your point, especially when you go on the road, to get off to a good start, it's important. It's important, and I think that's going to be critical for us here in these next couple games.
And Saturday marked your 250th career win. How do you think your experience could help this team down the stretch?
Well, listen, as I've said, it's really a byproduct of having good players and a good staff. And I think, what I lean on in this moment right now is I really believe in this group's collective kind of character, if that makes sense, and their ability to respond to adversity and challenges. Certainly will help lead and bring perspective to them as we have, but I'm a big believer in this group's just ability to respond to whatever moments come, and that's really what you're looking for, both challenging and success. So we played well on Saturday. How do we respond on Tuesday? We need a level of maturity in doing that. I've got a high level of belief in this group.
We talked about Casey, but they've got 4 guys that average at least 11 points. They've got a lot of guys who can shoot the ball, as you pointed to. What's the difficulty as a defense when you have a team like this where the scoring is really kind of coming from everywhere and the shooting is also kind of coming from everywhere?
Well, that's why they're so hard to guard. Their 5-out system is hard. They have 5 3-point shooters on the floor at times. That puts you in a really difficult spot. They're big that they got a transfer from, I believe, from Bradley's has been terrific. He's a 3-point shooting 5-man who leads him in assists. Their 5-out system is tailor-made for kind of what Fred has been trying to do. So, yeah, their shooting puts a real premium, and they cut exceptionally well, and they've got a big who can pass the heck out of it.
Whitney's got one more to that.
Okay.
About Evan.
Yep.
We've talked so much about Felix and Zed playing together and that inside force, but when Evan is doing even half of what he did last game, how important is that to kind of, you have to honor Felix a little bit more than that, right?
You do, and yes, and I think it might free up the guards a little bit. You know, what he's done a better job of is creating action offensively, and you know, obviously you've got experience in playing, so you get like he's able to slip out of a ball screen, to catch it, make a quick decision on a dribble handoff. He's creating more action right now for us, maybe than what he had done previously in the year, and that's what he's got to continue to do for us, and that's been a good thing to see.
Is that just getting comfortable with the system?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I do.
Yeah, you mentioned how you like your players, how your players like respond. So with Scotty, like since obviously this is mentioned, like how have you seen him respond, and what do you maybe want to see out of him in the next?
Yeah, good. Like I said, he's a great kid. Had a good approach and good attitude in practice. And yeah, I think sometimes it's outside world makes a bigger deal of this than what it is. He's good. Yeah, it's good. Do you have one last one?
If you don't mind. You've talked about Dale the last couple of games, and you said you needed to commit to give him more consistent minutes. What goes into that decision with a player? Like, were you just seeing something where, I guess, how do you get to that conclusion? I guess with a guy that he's going to get better if we just give him more minutes.
I think some of it was just trying to really think through maybe what's best for our team, and I think what's best for our team is to get maybe able to alleviate some of the pressure from our primary scorers, primary ball handlers. We need another guy, and right now Dale is proven in practice to be the most ready for that. And but I need to get him in a little bit more rhythm too.
And then if I could, one more, just something I get from a lot of readers, and especially after the last game where you play well, Jamison takes 2 3-pointers. I get a question a lot about like trying to draw specific plays for guys to shoot threes. I guess, is that how challenging is that? Are you
Well, the
looking?
defense knows he's a 3-point
Well,
shooter.
that's what I'm
realize
getting
that.
at. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like the challenge of getting a guy like Jamison open, and the balance of drawing up a specific play for one guy to get a shot compared to where you want shots coming in the flow and all that.
Yeah, I think maybe he could have taken a couple more, but like we had a couple baseline underneath actions for him, Adam. But again, the defense knows, and they were really physical on his cut, and they trailed and then whipped one. We could have changed the angle of our screen a little bit. Maybe he could have snapped it off a little bit quicker. But I didn't come out of the game thinking necessarily that he needed to shoot more. But I think there are times where he could certainly shoot more. But I also think he's getting a lot of defenses really pressing up on him and taking away the three. And he did a really nice job driving and attacking a closeout. Got a foul on a skip. I think Roddy skipped it to him, maybe. But yeah, I think it's I always think he's got to be really ready to shoot.
You went to the press conference, if I could just ask real quick.
Sure.
Ross New York, have you had a chance to talk to him since then?
Yeah.
And I know Buzz Williams works for him at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Anything about his view of basketball, or just what have you gleaned, I guess?
You want me to share my private conversation with Buzz?
Yes, your private conversation with Buzz. No. Just whatever you're hearing, whatever you think.
Yeah, no, I talked to Ross, I can't remember if it was last Monday or Tuesday. Had a great conversation, and we kind of introductory, and just had a really good conversation. I've heard really good things about his ability for fundraising and NIL in this new space. Talked to some industry people who have all said really positive things. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
And just real quick, is there anything imminent about Big Ten format for next year? Or you talked about a month ago that some things were being discussed. Are you guys continuing behind the scenes to hash it back and forth, or what are they thinking?
There may be a coach or two in the Big Ten that's thinking about some of that stuff right now. I'd be shocked if there was, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not. I don't know. But again, if I get word on it, you feel free to ask me and I'll share it with you. But
About every 6 weeks.
yeah. I knew it was coming, Steve.
Yeah.